What is happening, people? And by people, I mean just me, because it's me by my lonesome doing extra special bonus content for all the patrons out there, specifically the high rollers, the make it rain, the $20 and above patrons. If you're here and you're queer, get used to it. No, I'm super happy to have y'all. Actually, something really exciting in addition to the AMA that I'm about to do is that we now have merch. So if you are a top tier patron, you're gonna get every 3 months another little goodie from me from the Bituation Room. So stay tuned for that. It's very exciting. So every 3 months you're gonna get something for a whole year. And also for folks who are $10 or $5 patrons, they'll get something too, but like they won't be enrolled in the goodie program, as I'm going to call it, the Frantifa, the swag program. But let's get to it. Let's talk about what people asked this month. It was only like three questions, but they're really good questions. I'm going to start off with one of my favorites. This is from Katrina B, who asks, if you could choose one or more outrageous and or absurd right-wing conspiracy theories to be proven true and the details revealed, which one would it be? And then they go on to say that they want to know who the deep state is and hope that Q does have a Satanist element. Like, I think that Katrina's into the idea of like Satanists in a pizza parlor, which I'm going to be real with you. I'm not looking forward to that one. I'm not looking forward to that one. But they also say, I wouldn't be mad if the earth really was flat because then we'd live in a snow globe. That is actually adorable. That is adorable. Also scary. Like then we would be in the Truman Show. Like I'm just going to set sail and like hit the edge of the world. That would fucking suck. That'd be scary as shit. No, I don't want any part of the Q conspiracy theory to be real. However, I am curious as to why Wayfair was charging $15,000 for an armoire, which is, look, if it's made out of like some like, endangered baby redwood, I don't know, like then I get it. Like if it would, like the wood was really good, I don't know who like what kind of person created that wood, I don't know what happened. But that to me is like, maybe if that were true, if like Wayfair had some like secret trafficking thing going on. But my real thing about conspiracies is that they're already in existence. We just don't talk about them, right? Like in my book, capitalism is a conspiracy. Like the tax code and tax fraud and, hiding massive amounts of money in the Cayman Islands and in Panama and in offshore accounts. That is a massive conspiracy against working people, against everyday people. So like, I feel like once you truly understand, and this is the problem with like conspiracy theories in general, is that they're for people who want simple solutions. They want simple answers, concise and also salacious, interesting. For me, understanding, and when I learned that like capitalist exploitation was a thing and was real, and how it worked and how capitalism fails us when it comes to the environment, healthcare, consumer protections, education, pretty much everything. And that when you put a profit model and motive behind all these systems and structures, that is sort of like the root of the rot of them rather than what we're always told. That to me was like, oh, damn. It's the conspiracy. It's like everywhere and nowhere, and you can see it and you can't see it. That I think was my moment of, oh shit, there is a massive conspiracy. The other ones that I think are more salacious, and I'm just going to be real with you, like the Catholic Church. Like I support Pope Francis. I think it's great what he's doing with the church, the way to cover your ass. But like, what was going on truly beyond the massive cover-ups and sort of the ignoring of the the systematic abuse of children in the Catholic Church in various like parishes or whatever the hell they're called around the world, I'm like, there's more to that. Like it's darker than that because popes don't just resign. Like that to me is very strange that Ratzinger, the former pope, Benedict, resigned before he was dead, essentially. Never happened in the history of popedom. And so what happened? What was else? And the other thing is like to go to such a like far left place, right? With Bergoglio, who's not, or Pope Francis, who's not that left, but like something must have happened for the Catholic Church to be like, we got to get a little bit woke because we don't want anyone asking questions about anything that's happened. So for me, we don't know the depths of the Catholic Church, like abuse for real, like for serious. I don't know about child, like actual sex trafficking rings inside of the Vatican, Italy. Like that to me is one of the ones that I'm like, that's interesting. But it's not right wing or left wing. But of course, you get called crazy when you actually want to know, or you get called crazy if you have thoughts or, questions. And the other one that's very much similar to that is Jeffrey Epstein, the billionaire so-called playboy slash sex trafficker who had ties to everyone from, Donald Trump to Bill Clinton to Prince Harry. No, not Harry. What's the one? Prince Andrew. Like, it's very interesting because the Epstein conspiracy or the Epstein story really was, like heralded by many mainstream outlets like CNN and MSNBC. They covered it top to bottom when it came out. And then as soon as he died, they were like, we're not like, we shall say nothing. And it was crazy because they had journalists on night after night talking about the victims, people who had done real digging around this issue, around Epstein's, conduct, folks who had been following the story forever. And then as soon as he died, it was like, oh, we can't talk about it, which made it seem even more suspicious because it was like, why are you night and day not going to talk about this? Why are we just going to talk about how like we're just going to accept this hook, line, and sinker? But it got relegated to like the ether of the dark web and the internet to be like, well, I guess you guys have to figure it out now. And it's one of those conspiracy theories that's like Epstein was in bed with both people from the far left and the far left, from the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. And it's something where I think the right wing has questions and the left wing has questions. I'm not saying we're invested and we're all part of the same community, but I definitely want to get to the bottom of that one. And I don't know if we ever will. So yeah, I really like that question, but that's my answer to that. Let's go to your next question. Also, I want aliens to be real. Obviously, the movie Contact is the most amazing movie ever. Let's see. Johnny Mac writes in and says, I watched one of your comedy show clips on YouTube. Thank you. And you mentioned you were reluctant to bring kids into this world. I am. I am a single father of 2 young children, and I worry every day about the world they are growing up in. Since I believe in solutions to fight problems, what 5 things would you change in this world in order to feel excited about bringing children into it? Woo! I know it's a loaded question, but it could be on a micro or macro level. I believe it's our generation that needs to seriously step up and take control of the planet. Most of the baby booms have checked out already. Love the show. Thanks, Johnny Mac. Oh my God. Great question. And that is, as someone who I had a stepfather, but doesn't have a super strong father figure in my life. I like really appreciate and, like see your single fatherhood of 2. I don't think that's easy. And yeah, I just appreciate that. Then again, mothers and women do it all the time. So anyway, 5 things I would change to make the world a better place. Let me just say that during the primary, my mom's been on the grandma train. Oh, when am I going to be a grandma? When am I going to be a grandma? And during the primary, I was like, look, if you help get a Democratic socialist in the White House, I will put a bun in the oven. Like, I'll put a Democratic Socialist in the oven. But I was basically like, look, if we elect Bernie Sanders, if we have a president who is serious about climate change, who is serious about income inequality, who is serious about the health of our communities, then it's suddenly a much safer world to bring children into. I think that the pandemic really did a number on people's brains. I know it did a number on mine and making me think like, God, it could get even worse. And maybe we should be thankful for the small things that we have. I don't know. But friends of mine who have had babies, say, and who are like sort of in the struggle for social justice and who are very much anti-capitalist, anti-racist, and working toward a different world, sort of say like, the moment we decide not to bring new life into the world is kind of the moment that we say that we're giving up. And I hear that. I definitely hear that. I also hear the very real reality that this generation, like millennials can have kids, Zoomers can have kids. Zoomers' kids will not be looking at parenthood in the same way because I do think things are going to get dramatically worse. I do think there's going to be far more climate chaos. That is, even if and even when we really try and rein it in. That being said, I am not a fatalist when it comes to climate change. I do not think that it doesn't matter. In fact, quite the opposite. I think that we can mitigate the harm, and we have to mitigate the harm. So obviously, number one is actually tackling climate change for serious this time, y'all. Not some, Paris Agreement BS. But that would be the 5 things I'd change in this world. And I think one of the interesting questions is that, raising kids in the United States is very different than raising kids elsewhere, and I know that a lot of European countries and countries that have more of a social safety net, that's being chipped away at. But what would you change in this world versus what would you change in this country, I feel like are really 2 different questions, because there's so many things about having and raising kids in the United States that makes it vastly difficult, whether it's, a lack of universal pre-K, whether it's a lack of universal health care, whether it's a lack of time off in the ways that, full-time jobs, you usually only get, 10 days of vacation a year or 2 weeks if you're lucky. The fact that there's little maternity and paternity leave, all those things factor in. So like, I would change all of those things, but on a macro level, just like magic wand, stopping climate change, reining in the military industrial complex on all levels, peace in the Middle East, just cause like Israel, Palestine, done. Once that's done, it's like, sort of the center knot or the key point of a lot of Middle East turmoil, I think, and would definitely, neutralize a very volatile power there, which is Israel. God, where am I going with this? This is so big. Okay, so there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we're getting there, but I think that the onus for parenthood is often put on moms. It just is. And it continues to be. Part of that is like literally babies latched to the boob. But part of that is like a, continued stereotypes around, fathers who choose to stay at home, or fathers who choose to be also caregivers, or even gendered ideas about, fathers raising young girls. This is like such an aside, but Channing Tatum, the actor, he's like a single dad now. He has an ex-wife, but he was like, he's got a daughter, and he was like, I just like threw myself into the world of like being a little girl, and I like, wear tutus, and I do think that doesn't mean you're a girl, obviously, like that's just a feminine quality. But he was like, I tried to really empathize and like get into the mind and the world of my child, and not holding back. And sort of, I think also that like breaking down a lot of gendered norms about, I think would break down a lot of like disconnects between parents and kids. And then the final thing is just changing our communities and the ways that we, especially in the United States, but around the world, we have moved towards a nuclear family. And especially in the pandemic, you are just like, well, this is my family. I'm locked in with me, my boyfriend, and my cat, and like, I really hope and I pine for, a world in which we rely on community, where we know our neighbors, where we build with our neighbors, and not on a like, let's all get on Nextdoor and talk about who was rifling through the trash and shit like that, but like in a like, I'm going to look out for your kids, you look out for my kids. And I think the strength of not online, but like in-person communities, as much as I love online communities and I think that they can be great, that I would change. I would totally change that. I think we need to strengthen communities. And it's funny because that's such a right-wing talking points are like, we need to strengthen the family unit. Nah, man. We need to strengthen the community unit. We need to strengthen the neighborhood unit. We need to strengthen that kind of power. That's what's going to help healthy families and children be able to grow up and like take on the mantle of social change. Be a Greta Thunberg, who is my love and one and only. But that's a really good question. Hope I answered it, sort of. Okay, and Little Mac always at the good questions. And when I say always, I mean this is the second time we've done this. But thank you once again to everyone who is watching, to all the patrons out there. And you too can get in on the action, become a patron at $20 or more. Like I said, you're now getting a bunch of swag. So $20 a month, but swag and AMAs. It means a lot. It helps me keep this show going. You have no idea. So thank you. And Lil Mac says, what are your primary sources of information for world/country events? Oh, okay. Well, everything. Twitter, obviously. No. But I've said this multiple times, but I think it's really good to get a diet like of, like a food group diet of media. Newsbroke once did like a whole breakdown of like how we thought it was good to get your news, and like, the sugars are like celebrity news. But I love news aggregators. A lot of people use Apple News. That's fine. The links are just obnoxious for me. But Feedly is something, I think you can use it for free, like a news aggregator. And so then you put in like your New York Times, your AP, but then you also have your Slate and your Daily Beast. For me, like some of my favorites are The Guardian. Like I've always found The Guardian to be really spot on. I also feel like they have good international coverage, whereas a lot of places do not. I still like Al Jazeera. I think Al Jazeera, again, with international news, does some of the best job, especially when it comes to the Middle East. I have had him on the show before on the Bitchuation Room, but Juan Cole has a great blog called Informed Comment, and he also like aggregates a lot of good other writers and international news, just like super solid. I listen to Democracy Now! I think they have actually pretty good international coverage. It's one of the few American-based news outlets where they have like good international coverage. I'm gonna be real with you. Amy Goodman's frogs in her throat really bother me. This is something, let me know if you feel me, but it's like every time she speaks, it's like she hasn't gargled with salt water in the morning enough. And it's like, or like done kombucha, just drink kombucha. It like really helps. But she's always like, welcome to democracy. Democracy Now! I'm an asshole. You guys know that. You watch the show. You know I'm an asshole. And those are my opinions on that. It's hard. It's hard. I get it's an early morning show, but man, that frog is like you know when you can taste a loogie? You can taste Amy Goodman's loogies. That being said, they're good. Like it's a great show. I love Democracy Now! It's very, very importante. ¿Qué más? Vamos a ver. Little Mac, again, 3 questions, which props to you. I think that's important. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Crushing it, obviously. No, years. So I'm in my 40s. Where do I see myself in 5 years? So first of all, thank you for the job interview question. And I think that's sort of what I'll say. I do not see myself still somehow at a full-time job in 5 years. And I don't know how to feel about that, but that's real. And I don't know. I'm kind of at this crossroads where like I've said before, I've got that one foot sort of in mainstream in comedy, in like trying to, get staffed on writing, on shows and in writing positions, still knocking down the door of, the Comedy Central folks. And, trying to not put all my eggs in one basket, but still do stuff that's like News Broke, like this show that is me, that is 100% me. So I don't know, man. Dude, maybe with a kid, maybe with another cat, maybe as a writer on a show, maybe with my own show. Maybe with a mortgage. You never know. Maybe living in like a really healthy throuple. I don't fucking know. Here's what I will say though. I hope I'm happy. Like I hope we all stay grateful. And this is one of those obnoxious put it on a pillow, put it on Instagram things, but I think especially in the field of, entertainment, comedy, just people kind of trying to, get clicks, get follows, do all that shit. And, in creative stuff, there's a lot, it's every day getting up and feeling like, you're not enough and that you're just like clawing against your own self-worth and your own self-esteem. And this happens in every industry. We've got imposter syndrome all the time. And what I will say is I just don't want to wake up in 5 years and be resentful. I want to be resentful about the good things that you should be resentful about, like, fascism and shitty Democrats. But I don't want to be resentful over like, man, shoulda, woulda, coulda. I think that it's easy to start to delude yourself into like the next thing. Even the people who are on top are not happy. Elon Musk cries. Anywho, finally, as a female comic, do you often have to deal with major sexist and sexually inappropriate men from the audience? If so, how do you deal with it? Okay, for sure. From the audience, from inside comedy, like I said, is one of those places that doesn't have an HR department. And even if it did, it'd probably be run by creeps anyway. There's not a lot of labor protections. There's no one to go to if you're like a comic in your industry is, creeping on you. And we've seen, sadly, that time and again, a lot of famous comics, folks that maybe people like, have, turns out, interpersonally been awful. There's a comedian named Joanne Schinderly who actually had a comic or a audience member, speaking of audience, an audience member pull out his dick. He was clearly drunk, pulled out his dick in the audience, and then everyone was like, ew, and then he left. Like, there is, and you have to be honest about this, like, sadly, patriarchy and sexism mean that, like, a lot of men are very uncomfortable with women being funny on stage. It's just hard for them to watch. I don't know what it has to do with. A lot of men will be like, I just don't find women funny. That's on you, bro, right? Like, that's so on you. We are well beyond that question, but there are men who still want to have that discussion. Are women funny? And I think as a woman, you're hyper aware of how you come off. I'm like, oh my God, am I wearing too much makeup? Do I look like too frumpy? Do I look too like dressed up? Do I look too sexualized? Like I'm like constantly in my head about how I come off. I'm to the beginning of my stand-up, I would wear like really baggy stuff and like kind of like very normal on purpose. I've never been someone who, like, some women like love to dress up on stage. I definitely don't like. I don't really like to wear dresses that much anyway, but I sure as hell would not wear just like a tight fitting dress on stage, but I just wouldn't, because I feel like, I would get to distract everyone. You know what I'm saying? No, but it's true. You want people to focus more on what you're saying. And I think, that it can be difficult. I think some women are like, no, I need to wear this, like, focus on my legs. I'm hot. And that is an asset, And sadly that it's true. Like, it does help some audience members pay attention. But it's a never ending slog. It is a absolute boys club that is changing, but, it's just something you have to deal with. And I have jokes that are like, if you've seen any of my stand-up, about being a feminist and about wanting revenge for Me Too, and you kind of have to always address like the uncomfortable men in the room. And so I say something like, all of you guys are allies here, and I can tell because no one has their dick out. And funny enough, apparently men have taken their dicks out in the middle of comedy shows when women are on stage. But I know my audience is not intimidated by a strong woman making them laugh, making them think, making them cry. Maybe not cry. Anywho, that has been another edition of Franny's AMA. Thank you once again for Antifa. Until next month, send those questions in. Give me your comments, reply to me, let me know if you have any responses to some of the other people's questions. I love that too. But thank you so much for the thoughtful comments. Thank you for sending in your thoughtful remarks. It means the world to me that we can have this interaction. It makes me feel less alone, even though there's one person viewing right now. I know there will be at least 15 people viewing at some point in the future. All right, y'all. Have a good Wednesday. Have a good week. Take care. Bye.